Good afternoon to you. Good week to you. It is Friday, May 10th at 3:56 p.m. Central Indiana time. Hope you're doing well. In an effort to try to become a habit for me in spinning new content and doing it in relatively, regular fashion. I came up with a topic. Jay actually suggested it, and so I thought let's give it a run. So today, going to talk a little bit about football. Talked about basketball last time. Maybe I'll try to stagger it. Maybe I'll go every other one. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I offended some people last show, and if one of those guys is offended, he's bothered that my headline wasn't descriptive enough of what I said, I will remind you to go back and check at 2 minutes and 15 seconds where I talk exactly about the title of my last post. If you're listening, if you're listening, you're also not a man of your word because you said unsubscribe. I'm out of here. Leave. I don't care. Sorry. I've been doing this for a long time, 18 years. And to put out the idea that I'm not doing something because I'm passionate about it and want to do it and I'm trying to get clicks. I'm the worst designer at clickbait crap ever, if that's the case. 18 years I've been doing this. So sorry, that it got me a little lit up, and maybe I need to get used to that. I appreciate all the people that are tuning in now. It's different than it was just months ago. It's great to see. And hopefully today we'll get a little bit new group of people today too, because of the topic I'm going to talk about. Today I'm going to address, you saw the photo that goes along with the post, and that is the new members of the Big 10, the Big 16, the Big 18, the Big 14, Big 18, I guess would be a better way to say it. We're, as Big 10 charter members, whatever, welcoming new teams, and the ever-changing landscape of college football is putting Purdue in a place where they're going to play new teams. There's going to be a lot to learn. I really don't know enough. I'm going to admit it. So I tried to do a little research today to look at the new four teams coming from the old Pac-10, Pac-12. Maybe you can get educated at the same time as me, learn a little bit about what these teams have to offer, and maybe you have more to offer too. Leave it in the comments. Let me know what you think about what's coming. Let me know what you think about Purdue's schedule, how it's affected by these teams. Obviously, Oregon is the I think it's Oregon is the biggest direct effect. It's going to be Oregon is really calling the ball here with the new members. They are going to be the best team by far, and I'm going to talk about these teams in strength from strongest to weakest, in my opinion, based on what I've read, what I think, and why I think that. Of course, we will start right out in Eugene, Oregon. My pal Ken lives outside of Eugene, Oregon, so he's excited about his Ducks being part of the Big Ten and his Boilermakers as well. And so let's look at them. Obviously, Oregon's a damn good team. Last year, they were really, really good as well, 12-2, and they lost Bo Nix. That's a big deal. They lost a guy who was a, fifth-year college, was he fifth or sixth-year college quarterback, something that they're comfortable and familiar with, something that they want. Obviously, they replaced Bo Nix this year with Dylan Gabriel from Oklahoma. That's probably the biggest offseason story, maybe next to one other story for Oregon. The other one being Dan Lanning's sticking around. Dan Lanning's a great coach. He's one of the young up-and-comers. He's got a swagger about him. He's going to be someone you either love or you hate, I think, right away for Big Ten fans. But Dylan Gabriel, I think I'd like to talk about him more than anybody else and how this is going to define their success, Oregon's success. You got a guy who's played, like I said, 6 years of college football. He played first 3 seasons at UCF. I think he was injured his first junior season, however we want to classify things in this unusual broken era of college football. But his third season, he only played 3 games. But his numbers are just eye-popping. What he can do in Oregon, I think will be felt immediately. They obviously put up big numbers on offense last year. but he's 69% completion quarterback, 3,700 yards last year, 55 TDs, and 12 interceptions in the last 2 seasons playing for Oklahoma. Just an incredible talent, has the numbers to back it up. And on top of having one of the best coaches in the nation, one of the best quarterbacks, probably the best portal quarterback in the nation. We can debate that, but one of them, definitely the apple of a lot of programs' eyes. I think Oregon has a pretty favorable schedule. And for that reason, I think they're the number 1 new Big Ten member. They're the team that's going to set the pace for these 4 and maybe, just maybe, contend for a Big Ten title right there along with Ohio State. I've got my prediction. I'll put my early prediction out there right now. I'm going to do this for each team, but my early prediction is 11-1 for Oregon. And we can discuss and debate that in the comments. But 11-1, pretty good start. Historically, when teams come into the Big Ten, it's not as easy as their fan bases think it's going to be. And you can look back at back at Penn State coming in the conference, Nebraska coming in the conference. Those two specifically. Little initial success, but it's not a simple process getting into the Big Ten. And I believe Oregon might break that trend a little bit. I think Nebraska's first season, if I'm remembering correctly, was pretty good, but then it got a little tougher for them, if I'm remembering correctly. It's either first or second season they won their division, if I'm remembering correctly. But it has been somewhat rocky, let's say that, for Nebraska. I know that's much to the joy of J Money here on the site. Next up, USC. Let's talk a bit about USC. USC is one of the most talented teams in America. Tons of unproven talent on this team. They've got a lot of question marks, a lot of things to figure out. They're coming off of a 8-5 season, or pardon me, 8-4 season last 8-5 season. There we go, because they played in a bowl. 8-5 season last year. But really, that defense struggled mightily, especially in conference. They allowed a ton of points, and that'll be a big question again in the Big Ten. Will they be able to hang with the top of the conference? My guess is no, but they've got a lot of things that they're dealing with too on the offensive side that make it interesting. They have Miller Moss starting at quarterback. Interesting kind of couple degrees of Purdue connection. Miller Moss started at quarterback in the Holiday Bowl versus Louisville. He had 6 touchdowns in that game. And at that point, Lincoln Riley said, I'm going to call off the dogs. I'm not going to go after an older quarterback from the portal. And he decided Miller Moss is his guy. Let's see. Like I said, the defense is going to be the biggest question for USC, but they've got tons of guys in that defensive line that look like NFL-ready players. And if you're going to say what's a reason to be hopeful on defense, I'd say it's in the trenches at USC. Like I said, there's no question on if they're talented. The question is, are they going to gel, and how quickly will they gel? My prediction for USC this season will be 8-4, and I think they could be 7-5 actually in the Big Ten. I think they will struggle. I think this is going to be. This is not the same team not the same offense that Caleb Williams ran. So they've got a lot of things to deal with, and that's why I'm at a prove it to me type of way to address USC, in my opinion. A lot of people love Lincoln Riley. A lot of people are skeptical of Lincoln Riley, especially after last season when you have a guy who won the Heisman and then they still only win 8 games. So the standards are high at USC, and we'll see how they handle the pressure in the Big Ten. Next up, I got Washington. They've got a super easy pre-con schedule. They've got tune-ups, Weber State, Eastern Michigan, and then Washington State. That's a ramp that gets you going really, really well. And they're going to kind of need it as the Jed Fish era begins. The question is, can they start 5-0 or 4-1? And if they do, they're in really good position to maybe make a little bit of noise just out of, are they going to be confident coming off that? And they can be. So it's a favorable schedule at the start, but in the end of their schedule, it gets really, really tough, really daunting. Obviously, it's a big deal. They lost their Penix. That's a huge deal. We'll see what happens, how they handled that. Their backup quarterback, Penix's backup quarterback, Dylan Morris, went to James Madison, and they get a Mississippi State transfer, Will Rogers. Will Rogers will be starting for Washington this year. The question that you've got is you've got a lot of moving parts, and will they all fit? Will they work well together? If you look at Jed Fish as a coach, he had a great season last year at Arizona. But his total body of work makes some people scratch their heads and say, was he really the guy? Well, I guess we'll find out in the next 2-3 seasons at Washington. For all these reasons, coming off a 14-1 season, losing the national title in Michigan, it's another team I'm kind of skeptical that they're going to be able to hold up to the schedule in the Big Ten. And I think Washington's probably going to be a 7-5 team, and I think they could be as low as 6-6. I think I'm not making a lot of friends if we've got new people watching, but just my opinion based on what I'm reading, what I'm seeing so far. The Mississippi State quarterback, let's see, he was a 60% completion quarterback in 2023, 12 TDs, 4 interceptions. Nothing to write home about, and I think it's going to take a Herculean effort at quarterback for Washington to make noise in the Big Ten. And finally, we got UCLA. UCLA is coming in with a ton of question marks. They've got a new coach, of course, Deshaun Foster, first-year coach, former running back coach at UCLA, great recruiter, a lot of positive energy at UCLA, a lot of good stuff coming out of there, and just like the vibes. It feels like a bit like an NFL team in the preseason, in that everybody's excited about the possibility of what might be. But at the same time, with Chip Kelly out, going to Ohio State, the whole program is going to change. I know a lot of guys stayed there. They've got a lot of things that are good. But Chip Kelly, even the lesser version of Chip Kelly we saw in the last few years, not the first version of him in his career, that's a big loss. It's a big loss. The really, really interesting thing about their schedule, I see a possibility of them literally having bookend wins in game 1 and 12. I think 2-10 is a possibility, and I know I'm way low. I think Vegas has them winning 5.5 games, but I'm skeptical of UCLA too. And game 2 is versus IU in California. That's a game that I think Purdue fans will watch just as out of curiosity to see if UCLA has figured some things out, if Deshaun Foster's system is taking hold. But I'm very, very skeptical of UCLA. I would say my final prediction, if I'm gonna go out there, like I said, Vegas has them winning 5 games. I have them lower than that. I have them at 4-8, and many people have UCLA and Purdue and IU all down in that cellar, all in the unenviable place. I love the fact that Purdue is down there in many predictions. Like I said, I feel good about that, but this is a team that I think has to have some things go their way for them to have a really good season. All right, that's about all I've got on there. I'm going to look at what you guys have to say. Appreciate everybody who's tuning in live. Unusual time, Friday afternoon. Chris Harder's here first. He said, let's go. Boiler Bugle, first, you're second. Sorry, you're second. Bad news for you. C. Metzger says, woo, Dick Stillwagon, Boiler Up. Is Painter the best coach of all time? I think some think so. Yeah, we're not talking about basketball today. We can address that at the next QuickCast. Ted Berkey says, Boiler Up, thankful for the weekend. Amen. Same here. IC says, good afternoon. Shout out to Dilbert. Not the glasses. They look good. Yeah, it's an acquired taste, these glasses. They're a bit much, but I got to tell you, they're my favorite. They're absolutely my favorite. And I tell you, I have like 7 pairs of glasses. These are the ones I feel most comfortable in. So hopefully you guys feel comfortable with me then in them as well. Greg Mameda says, hello. I was going to knock off work a little early and go mow the lawn, but I guess I need to listen to Dowd instead. Well, I hope your lawn endeavor is successful, but thanks for tuning in, Greg. Good to see you. Dick Stillwagon says, tell me why Berg is going to be incredible. Sleepers are doubting Willie Berg. Okay, so this is coming. I'm going to readdress the starting lineup because I didn't do a very good job really talking through the starting lineup and the guys coming off the bench. I don't have Will Berg starting in my guess of the starting lineup for the basketball team. I'll talk a little bit about it next week, but yeah, I think this is a good thing to talk about. And Sleepers also, because I think you said sleepers. Yeah, sleepers. Not only do they doubt Will Berg, they doubt everybody on Purdue. They hedged their bet a little bit, saying that Purdue could finish higher in the conference than IU. But go and watch their comparison video, Purdue and IU lineup, if you want to just laugh or smile, whatever. To me, I left that feeling good because they are so down on Purdue, and I love it. Again, I like having a chip on my shoulder. It's the way I've lived most of my life. So I'm good with that. But they are really positive on IU's roster, and they seem to be ignoring some key parts of history. So I love it. Eat them up. Let's see. Greg Manis says, in Coach B, we trust. Absolutely. Brandon Brantley is a difference maker for Purdue. And if people don't understand that, he can make a guy come along quickly in his development. So yeah, Coach Brantley's right up there with one of the best assistants in America. Of course, he won the Big Ten's award last year. Ted Berkey says, thankfully, the Oregon court is gone the way of the Pac-12. Yeah, it's a weird, isn't it a weird thing just to say the Pac-12 isn't a thing anymore? That in itself is so bizarre. And the fact that the Big Ten kind of pushed the thing over the cliff is tough. But make no bones about it. If you want to do a little research, the Pac-12 commissioner last year did them a great disservice during their TV contract discussions. If you don't know about this, he turned down a pretty good TV package because he thought it wasn't good enough, and they ended up getting a much worse package, which kind of propelled everybody, or these four teams at least, towards the Big Ten. Really, really crazy development, and I don't know if he still has a job, but he shouldn't have a job. Dick Stillwagon asks, is Purdue baseball going to make waves the next few weeks? Sure, why not? Let's go with that. I like that team. I think they're fun. They got to get some things. Got to get back into rhythm, right? Nathan Anderson says, all the pundits I've seen are dragging Purdue football. Would love to see Alden meet Crow in 6 months. Yeah, I like year two for Coach Walters. I like the fact this defense is being developed by design. He's getting bodies in there that he wants. He's getting the type of talent he wants. I think there's still some question marks, some big question marks. The offensive line looks better on paper, like I told you guys last week, but at the same time, they've got to gel. That offensive line really needs to gel. They got a solid core of three in Musa Bo and Dagnabbit brain. But they've got solid core three starters returning, and on top of that, they've got some really, really good depth, really good size coming in. So I'm excited about that. Wide receivers are a question mark. How healthy Claire will be at tight end is a big question mark, which is funny because we're going to be relying heavily on a sophomore, but I think he's that good. Yeah, but I like what's coming on defense. John Roberts says, "Hey, at least we get to play in the Rose Bowl." Exactly. That's a lot of people think it's doomsday for programs like Purdue with the addition of these Pac-12 programs and the conference getting bigger. I would ask everybody to sprinkle in a little bit of salt here, because a little bit of wisdom. When you look at what's coming here specifically, if you believe what I'm saying, or if you agree, and you can disagree, that's fine. But if you agree somewhat what I'm saying, you've got a top of the program. You've got really a representation of a typical conference, whether it's Big Ten or SEC or Big 12. A very good team, a couple in the middle, and one at the bottom. I don't think that changes really the pecking order at all. There's still enough bowl games to go around if you're into that sort of thing, even though bowl games are wilting. And postseason is probably going to change again in the very near future. We know that. But as that postseason football tournament changes, that could mean something different, but we'll see. I'm not at the place where Anish is thinking that this is doomsday for Purdue football. Ron Gable says baseball, football, Olympic sports are significantly tougher with all four of these additions. That's true. That's absolutely true. With the baseball and Olympic sports. Football, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, like, to me, if USC gets it figured out again this season right away, that's a big deal. That's tougher. I'm skeptical. Like I said, I'm skeptical. We'll see. Dick Stillwagon says, can we get a Dylan Thieneman shout out? We will. Dylan Thieneman obviously deserves all the credit he's gotten so far. He's He's a legit All-American. Will he have a little bit of a sophomore slump? I don't think so. Not in the way this defense is designed. So I'm excited about it. Let's go a little further. Adam P says this year's schedule looks to give us fans some great teams coming into Ross-Ade. I'd be thrilled with 6 wins. Purdue's schedule is monstrous. The pre-con, you've got one game where it feels like you can tune some things up, but it's really tough. The one good thing you've got is that Oregon State might be transitioning because their coach, of course, went to Michigan State. And so, but Notre Dame, Oregon State, that's a tough way to start. And then the Big Ten schedule is an impact on them. A few are accounting for this. Yeah, the travel matters. That's one thing. And the other thing that matters is weather. And I don't know if I'm having an internet problem or what, or buffering problem, but I just got an indicator that I am. If I am, I apologize. But travel and weather will matter. The other thing, it goes both ways, though. The travel back out west will matter, too, to many Big Ten teams. And the rhythm of a game day, that's going to be the hardest thing to keep consistency for these players, right? That's a very good point. And I think I had, by the way, I can't find it. I think Wisconsin's going to be important. I look at the schedule of the incoming teams. I think Wisconsin's actually a team that could make or break a couple of these team seasons because I think where the games are played, Wisconsin's one to watch. I think Wisconsin will get better this year too. Ted Berkey says, Wisconsin, Michigan State was the first Big Ten title game. Nebraska made their second season. Thank you. Good reference. Yes. So my brain's only half right, half wrong. Meisterberger says, please tell me Purdue wins 7. I don't know if I can tell you Purdue wins 7. I think the funny thing is you have many people predicting Purdue to win 2 to 3 games. Like a lot of people saying Purdue win 2 to 3, 4 games. Purdue wins 6. It's a massively successful campaign, and he'll actually have a lot of momentum going into Card's senior year if he decides to stay around, hopefully. Will they win 7? Mercy. That's a tall order. So I'm showing a little bit of my cards right now, but I think 6 wins, I would consider that a really, really successful season for Purdue. It's all about perspective, right? Ed Albanese, the kingpin of Gummy Bears, says, hello, what's going on? Is Card as good as they made him to be? Yes. I think Card on paper is very, very good. I think Card has shown that he has tools in the shed. I think Card has shown us, we all watched it, especially towards the end of the season, when he started getting in a little bit of rhythm, his ability to keep his eyes downfield, keep plays alive with his feet. He's very athletic and he has a lively arm. I think he's very good. I do think, though, that Graham Harrell didn't do him any favors, especially in that early middle season last year. Play calling killed me. I was very, very honest about that. So, but I think Card's very good, and I think Card will show it. I think that's the thing that gets him to 6 or 7 wins. Hopefully he can stay healthy, stay vertical. The good news is the drop off to the second string is not as bad as it was last year, in my opinion. That's really good news. So if he gets dinged up or nicked up and he can't play for a week or two, which we saw last year, I feel a little bit better than I did last season about that. He also says, do you agree with the basketball rankings for next season? Thought we could rank higher. So I don't know which rankings you're talking about. If it's national rankings, I see one ranking that I have them. I think Purdue shouldn't be higher than in the middle to upper teens, in my opinion. And I've got a whole idea for a QuickCast about talking about how difficult it is for Purdue to get to where we want them to be next year because of all the new parts. And again, just like we had 2 years ago when you had Smith and Lawyer coming in and plugging in as freshmen, it's not going to be quite that bad, but you are going to ask a lot of 2 or 3 freshmen, no matter how you cut it. You look at the roster, and there's going to be 2 or 3 freshmen that are going to have to do a lot. That's a difficult thing in this era of college basketball, and Lawyer and Smith were able to do it. I keep saying this, and I want everybody to understand this. Edey took a lot of pressure off players because of his ability to be a guaranteed bucket. That's such a big deal. We've discounted it because it's easy for us to discount it and take it for granted. But yeah, I think it's asking a lot for a team to have 2 to 3 freshmen produce a lot right away, and Purdue's going to need that. So my guess is there's going to be a little bit of growing pains. There's going to be games where we'll be like, we're not going to be very comfortable with some of the things we see sometimes, especially as this team grows up. but I think the end result is Purdue will be in the teens, the middle to high teens in the top 25 at the end of the season. If they can finish 16 to 18 in America in a year after losing a 2-time National Player of the Year, losing the 6th Man of the Year, that's a pretty damn good season. So, but I don't know. I know I just went a long answer into something I didn't really understand. Ed Albany says, looking back, we had an amazing year in basketball. It was a joy to see Edie play, no doubt. Nathan Dolan says, thoughts on Purdue, Alabama, home and away basketball games, non-conference games are starting to look strong. Yeah, that's a big addition. I think I talked about the other day that the pre-con didn't look as strong as it did the previous season. That's a fun game for a lot of reasons. Alabama always has athletes. We'll see what happens, see what their roster looks like, because they still have a chance for one or two guys to enter the draft, one guy specifically. But yeah, I think it'll be fun. And I think Alabama, regardless how good they are, every year they have absolute dudes. And so that'll be fun. That'll be a lot of fun. I'm glad they got it. And I want the schedule in basketball. It's funny. This year I'd love to see a little bit of IU football philosophy brought into Purdue's football scheduling so they could have some time to get momentum and get some things figured out. But in basketball, I am all for the Tom Izzo philosophy of scheduling, where you go out and you get everybody you can, lose some games, take your lumps, get better, and then by mid-January, you know who you are. So I'm with you on that. Yeah, that's about it. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'd call this a legit QuickCast. 27 minutes, we're about done. So thanks to everybody for tuning in. And like I said, I'm going to try to do this regularly. I hope you enjoy it, and you can leave your thoughts in the comments. If you're angry at me about the title, I don't know what to tell you. Have a great day. God bless you. Hammer down. We'll talk to you soon. See ya.